All right, all you devils, how you doing out there? Sam here with you. It's the 11th of June, kind of early afternoon, and we'll take a look at the S&P here. A lot of people have been writing me, looking for their thoughts here, for my thoughts here, and this is it's a tough one. All right, we'll get here in a second, but first, just a quick bit of housekeeping. Now, this is something we've been just announcing here for the first time today. Here that I'm looking for feedback, whether you're a member, whether you're in educational, social, or free, or whether you just follow us on YouTube as a subscriber. We want your feedback. So we are going to do a little giveaway here as a promo to incentivize you to help us help you. So this is a survey that we're going to probably be the tail end of next week, so you have a little time to get positioned for this. Right? And all we're going to do is send out a survey and ask you some questions. So some kind of things that we're looking for. Asset diversification. Are you trading exclusively in crypto? Do you have a mixed... Sorry, I got my ninja alerts going off. Back to our questions. Are you diversified amongst asset classes? Are you crypto only? We're looking for a range of account sizes. So we might ask you, is your account typically, 5,000 or below, 5 to 10, 10 to 20. We're looking for ranges because based on the input that we get back from you, it helps direct me in terms of where we go next in terms of new content. So a lot of people are asking me for material incorporating into our arsenal here, option trading. Well, there's a lot of different ways to approach the options market, whether it be very short-term day trading options or position trading. But the challenge when you go to traditional asset classes, you've got to have I would tell you for traditional assets, it's a 10K minimum or above to be able to do it effectively. And if we find out that 75% of our followers, members, subs, etc., are in the 10K or less account size, then it may not make sense for us to invest a lot of time and energy there, although there are some lower cost ways we could bring in some very short-term option trading for people that are looking for some of the benefits, advantages that are there. It's just another set of tools. But there's some interesting things you can do in terms of short-term hedging and taking advantage of some of the characteristics of options. So before we launch one direction or another, we're trying to gauge the level of interest there and then the level of accessibility. So if we start demonstrating some trades here that would be appropriate for something like the S&P or name your asset, right? It's not without some requirements for capital to allow you to do it effectively and not be bumping up into margin issues or just not being able to trade enough size to where it would be worth the risk. So that's what we're looking for. We'll look for as well. We want as much feedback as we can get in terms of what you'd like from us. How do we maximize the value of your investment in our membership? And obviously, assuming you're a member. And if you're not yet a member, what is it that we can offer to you that might entice you to becoming a member for the educational content? Is that related to asset class or trading instruments, or are you? Again, we don't know. So we're trying to get a survey put together, and we know, right, how many surveys have you gotten that you fill out, right? We'll give you a little incentive here. So we're going to give away 0.05 of a Bitcoin to the first, and these will just be a random drawing. So anyone who participates will just be entered into it. So there'll be three prizes. Second prize will be a full month of educational membership, and third being a month of social. Now, before you go, oh shit, so I got to be a member? Nope, this includes all the free. So if you're not yet a member, if you're already a member, you can anticipate that survey next week, but you're still eligible for the drawing. If you're not yet a member, you could join us in the free membership here and come in and participate in that survey. I want your feedback. It's as simple as that. Help me help you. So you can come over here and join for free. That, by the way, that will get you access to all of the deep dives, all the crypto deep dives, as well as the white belt. As I've mentioned it here many times, it's not throwaway material, right? It's 4 hours of content, and it's a challenging belt to pass, right? As I've mentioned many times, we have people that kind of take it lightly and they can't pass it. So it's not something to take lightly. So that's available to you. But again, this is a way to participate, get involved here, at least be entered into the drawing. And again, there's no commitment here. We just would like to know, what we can do to help you. All right. So all of that said, I think we'll do that tail end of next week. You would expect to see the survey go out, and then we'll do the drawing probably the Monday following that. So you got about 10 days here to get registered and get entered. All right, all of that said, let's go over and look at the S&P. All right, so gravity's a bitch, is it not? Right. So this was just an astonishing move, right? It just. I mean, only the Fed can do that, right? That takes, well, let's call it stimulus to do something like that following that move. Now, what's making this really challenging for an Elliottician, if you're trying to approach Elliott analysis to this, is we can't have any conviction on either side of it, because both the leg down and the move up can be counted with observance of all Elliott rule set here. You can count it multiple ways. So the first challenge we have is we're trying to determine, is this the correction? Is this an ABC here? Now we've looked at, I'm not going to go through it again because we've been through it many times, right? So the alternate being that this is an ABC. So this can be, oh shit, well, just briefly here. You could trade this as an A, you get a triangle B, you go up for the C of the B, and then you can count this as 5 down. So we can have an ABC here that bottoms here, implying this is an impulse. Right, well, the alternate here would be that this is a finishing. Here we went 1, 2, 3, 4, and we get a tiny little 5, and we're coming down. So that would imply if this is 5 down, because it can be interpreted as either, that we've now got an impulse down, we've had our ABC here, and we have another leg coming down. Now, that's my primary here, and I'll be the first to tell you, I've changed that along the road, along the rip here, I guess I should say. When with all the Fed stimulus, as this was rip just going higher, it looked like it had to be an impulse. But then we got to one point here where we stalled, and that had me rethink that. So let's see if I can do it in an 8-hour here. So, yeah, let's go down a little bit. Let's go to, let's try a 4-hour here. So this is where I started to think perhaps something else was going on here. Okay, so here's the problem, right? So this coming down, we can come here. We can do this as an A, a B, and a C, right? So implying that this is corrective, this is corrective. So perhaps we have, this is borderline, it's not quite 90%. Perhaps a flat is coming. So if we look here, I'm sure you guys have all done this here. So if we pull this up here, here's 887, right? So per Elliott rule set, we want 90% there. Personally, I'm not. If we're just shy of the 887 here, right, I don't immediately go, well, it can't be a flat, right? I'm not that much a purist. So that's deep enough for me. Coming up, well, it's point of control here on visible range. If this is an ABC and this is an ABC, well, you're looking for 5 to follow this. So I would not be reluctant to to consider this as an ABC as part of a flat. And again, that's just me personally. Some of my senseis who are absolute, like they're hardcore purists, would say, can't do it, we didn't get 90. So this would be a judgment call. That said now, so if we look here, this is the section here where I moved from an impulse to a correction, right? This wasn't deep enough, right? So similar problem here, this could be counted, you could count this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So this area here, this little sideways zone, certainly looks more like a 4. But as this was ripping, see, it comes down to this little section in here. Let's see if I can, where are you? This section in here, I think the whole thing rests on how you're interpreting this, right? So let me go down to, let's go down to a 3-hour here. I see it as a completed impulse, right? This is how I'm counting it. So I see this as the 1, the 2 here, because I get an impulse here that finishes with an ending diagonal here in the 5th. Boy, I put the 3 there. I know, right? So we can just using our traditional fib relationships here, length of the 1 projected from the 2. right to the 100, right? It's to the tick. So, so you're reluctant here. So you want to put the 3 up here, thinking 4, 5, but this completes here. So I'm putting the A here because this plays better to me as a B than, well, certainly as a than as a 2. So if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if we complete the impulse here, if this impulse is completed, boy, I'm having trouble with that. If this is the completed impulse, lower probability, well, it's shallow for either, right? So creating the conundrum, right? So it could be a very shallow 2 or a very shallow B, one or the other. But this as an ABC, and because now of what's followed here, my primary would have the C here, and thus this being corrective, right? Now that's hasn't been a popular count. So the other thing you might look here, oh Jesus, that's not what I want. Where's my default? There we go. Okay, so I'm just putting a regression channel on this, and you see now we've just we're hitting the 233 in the edge of the regression channel. Just swing low to swing high. Right, so this kind of interesting pivot here, and there will be a couple of key pivots that will allow us to be more definitive about the count here, because there's no question this can be interpreted as a 1, 2. I guess Jesus, could we? I suppose you could be thinking 4 and 5 are yet to come. All right, so then you're back to thinking of this as then you're back to this is the B, this is a completed C, so this being the 5 to finish the C of the C, or pardon me, to finish the 5 of the C at this degree, and this is all an impulsive 1. And it still may work its way out that, but you got to pick one. You got to have a primary, right? So I lean into this as the C, so I'm still thinking it's more likely a flat, right? But that's all it is more likely in my mind, nothing more than that. Not a trade recommendation. This is a beast, and the volatility here is obscene, right? So to try and approach this, well, either you got to trade it very short term or very long term, because this is the count here. If you're leaning on the count, it's very easy to interpret it either way, which which what makes a market, right? So interpret it as an impulse, and you're looking for new all-time highs. Interpret it as a correction, and this being a contender for a flat, albeit not making 90%, then you're looking for 5 down and something down here to at least come back and test these lows. Now that's been an unpopular opinion for some time, and with the Fed, essentially, right, we call it the Fed put, being there to communicate to the market that they're going to do everything in their power to support this. Well, right, we don't want to try and fight the Fed, but at some point, you had all the conditions you would anticipate, that you would look for. You've got Trump crowing about it. The NASDAQ hits a new all-time high. You've got, bulls are wet. You've got Jesus, I saw this morning on Bloomberg, some guy who was a sports bettor, crowing about how he's outperforming Warren Buffett, so he's now the world's greatest investor. And some guy, I think he started trading stocks 2 weeks ago. You got retail. This has been primarily a retail-driven move. So retail was participating here. It was primarily, right, it was your large caps that were driving this, but we had all the kind of things, the craziness that usually accompanies a top, where you had bankrupt companies doing 5x returns. You had all the conditions that are there, because it starts looking like easy money, right? As soon as it looks like easy money, right, caution is the only thing to have in your mind's eye is, okay, it looks easy, right? So everybody's thinking, okay, well, off we go. So it's been a V bottom, and now what are we down? 1,500 today. Now that doesn't mean that we must go down here and challenge these lows. That's not what I'm saying. But you can certainly make a strong case for this to be corrective. So something more meaningful is yet to come. Right? Is it something wicked or something mild, and we're just going to go through a traditional retracement? Well, so until we get more clarity on that, the simple thing to do is say, well, whether it's impulsive or corrective, we'd anticipate something down in this zone, right? Just simple swing, retrace. So that's trying to simplify, and that's a long way to go to get there, right? We're not even to the 23, and we're just bumping into this lower edge of the regression channel, and we're tagging the 233. So, I don't have a count that would support it, but that that would put you up to new all-time highs. We're going to go up and get that. So if we do come down in something that's a 3, right, maybe we'll do it over here. That's certain. So I'm not saying that's not possible, that we must go down and test that. But right now, this is very open to interpretation. So it requires some caution here in terms of putting on a new trade. So right now, as we get this little bounce here, we're not likely to go straight down. So there will be opportunities along the way. But if you're not already short, this would not be an ideal time to be adding or looking to add to short positions. You'll have the volatility. So if you're thinking options, right, the puts will now be blown up with volatility. So not a good time to be a put buyer. And the volatility will come out of the call. So not a good time to be an out of the money call seller. So you're kind of late to the party on a new trade. So if you are bearish, we need some sort of a correction to get some conviction as to, well, what are we doing right here? So let's see. Let's take this off and we'll dig in here a little bit more. So let's go down to an hourly here. Now this is tricky to get in here. This section is a little bit of a, you're making an educated guess. I hate to truncate a C, but otherwise you can't quite get this to finish just right. So this little pocket in here where we get this right, how do you label it here? Where I think you've got to go with an expanded B so we get a running flat here to go up and to give us the 5, and you got to end with, it's a double top into the 5th, right? So that's not uncommon at a top there, but the 5 relative to the 1, 2, very, very shallow. So this is, it's not an easy count. But so coming down, this has gone too far. So the odds are that this was impulsive. So either you got to go 1, 2, 1, 2, or you're truncating the 5th here, which I'd prefer not to do if I'm not forced to. This is a challenging count. No question about it. The market is being difficult here to get a clear read on it. As I see this, because of the length of this move, I don't think it's done. So I'm seeing 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, is this the 3 at that degree? Well, it's already past the 2, 6, 1, 8. So whatever it is, we've gone, whether it's 1, 2, and I don't, if you were trying to finish this, you'd have to do it like this, it would appear, to say, okay, the 3 is in at that degree, so anticipate the 4. Either way, this certainly doesn't look like a completed correction. All right, so what seems less probable is that we'd have A, B, and C is done, and now we're back off to challenge the highs. In this market, it's like the weather in Texas. If you don't like it, wait an hour. We could scream back, right? No question, we could. I think that seems less likely. So whatever we're doing here, I see it as a 1, 2, 3. We need the 4. We've got to get a completed 5 here that we can get our arms around and say, okay, at least I've got a 5 that I can lean into. So what are we doing? Is it a 1 or is it an A? Well, it's all a function of whether you're seeing this, as a top, or we're just retrace. So if you were thinking from the low here, okay, well maybe we're just putting in a 2 here. Well, all right, so this doesn't make it any easier, other than with the exception that it looks like perhaps we'll stay technical here, but we've got to see what happens next, right? We need the next pivot to know where we are in this count. Is it going to be an A? Is it going to be a 1? What I do not think we have here is something that's completed the correction. This does not look like we'd have A, B, C. That seems much less likely. So what do you do with it? Well, as I said, you're kind of, for anything. So if you're looking at options with 30 to 90 days left on them, and this is kind of back to here I'm talking about options, right? And we've never done any training on options, which takes me back to, this is why we want that survey. Do it, right? And again, come in for free if you're watching on YouTube. Would you approach this with options? Well, these are going to be very, very expensive options, right? Very. Right? Especially if you're looking for anything beyond 30 days, so you're not just going to get killed with time decay. So this would be an expensive option trade to where you'd be doing it far enough from the money to where it would be worthwhile to take the risk. Even if you're doing credit spreads, right, or put spreads, you're going to have to be far enough from the money. And then so you're going to have to do typically a 5 lot to make it worthwhile, and that's going to require some margin, some capital to be allocated there. And again, that's why we're trying to get a survey. Is that the right place for me to go and put together a new course, which is a very deep dive, right? Is there enough interest? Is there enough? Do we have enough people that are interested in option trading and have the resources to do it effectively? Right? So that's back to why we're hosting that survey. So I don't think you can do anything. I wouldn't buy it. You're too late to sell it. You're too soon to buy it. So you're kind of stuck here going, all right, well, I need more clarity, right? You don't need to be in the market all the time. When the market's doing with these kind of gyrations after the massive run we've just had, which was, I think, it astonished everybody. I mean, there are hedge fund managers scratching their head. I mean, this was... Right, and then all of a sudden we've got mistakes in the job report data, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, wait a minute. So now we're in kind of, you just want to look at the headlines, So I don't even think we can yet. No, we don't. They're trying to approach the subdivision here. Until I get a pivot here, I'm not even going to try on it. But again, all of a sudden it's a little bit. All of a sudden, maybe things aren't as rosy as everybody thought they were, and people are like, COVID? What COVID? What was that? What was that? That little inconvenience? And all of a sudden, perhaps the things are going to look different, a month from now. Well, certainly, if all the protests are going to be breeding grounds for contagion of the virus, we're going to know that. We're not going to have to wait long. We should know by the end of the month if we're going to see a dramatic uptick in new cases and what the impact is going to be on business. I think what is very unlikely is that we'll see another shutdown, although can't rule it out, but I think that is less likely. But it's certainly going to affect. It's going to affect the economy. How about we say it that way? So as we sit here waiting for this to resolve, I don't think there's any move. If you're not in now, I think the next trade would be the 4 to the 5. And again, right, if you want to do it in micros, or you want to do it in options, again, assuming you have the resources to do that and the knowledge base to do it, there's a trade setting up there. But I wouldn't, if you're in that trade, if you were looking for that, I wouldn't be anticipating we're down to test the lows, right? So I would be, that's all right. If we got something like that, that's 836 points. I mean, there's a nice looking trade sitting there. Oh, that thing's annoying, right? For the 4 to the 5. But remember that you would be anticipating if this completes as a 5, you'd be looking for that, right? So that if you were in an option, now you're going to be giving lots back, and time decays is hurting you, and that you're trying to hang on for that. I think that's a mistake, because that could take 2-3 weeks, and your option's just going to be getting eaten by theta. So by the time decay, so I think this is the next trade. I wouldn't try and pick the turn here and try and play the 3 to the 4. Now maybe if you got something like that, something small intraday, maybe you're trading off of a 15-minute. There's probably a little trade there for very short-term stuff. But that's the trade that's setting up. All right, but then anticipate that. And then if you got that, then that would be the next trade. So right now, if indeed we've got a trend change, which certainly the size of that move would imply, again, I'd trade the 4 to the 5 or the B to the C. I think that's the safest way to approach this myself, right? That's how I'm going to anticipate it. Now, I'm trading with very short-term options in addition to, you guys know we do a lot of day trading, and that's where I spend most of my time. Most of my trading is done in the futures market, so I'm very active. Well, we have a pretty active day trading room as well, which is, again, another option for you, right? So that's kind of back here, right? Is there enough interest in the day trading for us to start putting more of that content up here for people to participate again? So we need your help. We need your help helping you, right? As I've said multiple times. Okay, so I think you got to just sit tight until we get the next retracement and look for the opportunity for 4 to 5 and then B to C. But we'll be back before the B to C is setting up, or well, of course, right? It could be 1 to 2, right? So whether it's B to C or 2 to 3, that's where the next big opportunity is going to be. This one, I would just say you're trying to swing for a single there. Don't swing for the fence. Right? No need to do it. Don't try and pick the pivot here. In my opinion, that's a dangerous trade to make. But 4 to 5, very tradable. B to C, very tradable, or 2 to 3. Right, there you go. Well, we will see. Now, we'll be back here. What's today? Shit, what is today? Thursday. By Tuesday, we'll be back here with an update, and maybe we've got a little bit more information here so we can put together a trade based on what we see. All right, so there you go. Final reminder, please participate here. I mean, that's $500. Well, shit, depends where Bitcoin is, right? Right now, it's about $500. All right, $200 for the educational, $50 for your social. We're trying to incentivize you so you'll participate. And remember, you can always join us. Whether you're interested in giving us any information, any feedback, participating in the survey, you can still just join us for free, right? It's not a requirement. We just would like you to participate. All right, guys, there you go. Be back to update this on Tuesday.